Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Today today is December the 3rd, you had one of the most important games for playoff seeding in the NFC just take place. The Pack were down 17-0 to the Detroit Lions. They were firmly looking at the possibility of losing the game and going 7-5, right? When suddenly, of course, Detroit ran out of offense, and the Pack was able to mount a comeback and win that game. Now, that game's going to have all kinds of consequences if you're thinking about seeding for the playoffs in the NFC. Let's talk about it. First, they're 8-4. Understand they practically have a bye week next week, right? The Packers play the Cowboys at Lambeau, right? Then week 15, the Packers travel on the road to play the Oakland Raiders in Oakland. Both of those are winnable games in my opinion. Now, week 16, would you believe the Packers travel to Arizona to face the Arizona Cardinals? Now, that game could well be the game that decides the 2 seed in the NFC. I'm assuming Carolina keeps the lead they have. They have a 2-game lead on even Arizona right now. I'm expecting Carolina to be the top seed in the NFC. Not the strongest team, but the top seed in the NFC. But the 2 seed to me is in play, right? Chris Johnson recently suffered a broken leg, right? He's not supposed to be back until the Super Bowl. Let's just say the rushing game for the Arizona Cardinals is a little bit iffy, right? I know the Cardinals have a great coach, right? An excellent coach. But let's just keep track of this. If the Packers are able to beat the Cardinals week 16, understand they would only be 1 game behind the Cardinals, right? Before we even consider these other games. Understand week 17, the Pack returns to Lambeau to face the Minnesota Vikings, right? All I want Viking fans to do is just compare and contrast the number of touchdowns Teddy Bridgewater is thrown for with what Aaron Rodgers is thrown for, right? Let's just say there is a possibility that the Pack, in their remaining 4 games, right, and they already have 8 wins, there's a possibility that they win 3, if not all 4 of these games, right? Now, I'll say this. I think the Pack takes the division. I know the Vikings are ahead of them right now, but what if I told you the Vikings' next 2 games are against Seattle, granted in Minnesota, right, but they face Seattle, then the next week they face the Cardinals. Think about that. Those are 2 hellacious games. The Cardinal game, they actually play in Arizona, right? I would argue that they could well lose their next 2 games. Then they face the Bears at home, right? That Bear game is going to be problematical. You have to view it in the context of the season. After you face Seattle and Arizona, are you going to be in a frame of mind to actually focus on the Chicago Bears? Also, look at the Bears season. They have a new coach, John Fox, right? You know, the Bears have been steadily improving, haven't they? Well, I'll say this. They play the Bears at home. Then after that, in week 16, at home, they play the New York Giants. Folks, I'm not here saying the Giants have had a world-beating season. But what I am going to say is that the Giants are still in contention to win the NFC East, right? And I'm not sure if betting against Tom Coughlin and Eli Manning deep in December, when the Giants are in contention, is the way to go. I think that's a tough game. And of course, the Vikings end the season on the road facing the Green Bay Packers. Look, I admire what Adrian Peterson has done, right? I have to question whether Teddy Bridgewater has the kind of arm that's going to hold up in a lot of cold weather, right? And I have to say, at the end of this week, the Vikings and the Packers may well both be 8-4 atop of the division, right? Let's look at the Cardinals. The Cardinals play the Rams. The Rams seem to be sliding of late, right? But the game is in St. Louis. After that, they're at home against the Vikings. Okay, fair enough. Then they're on the road against the Eagles, right? Okay. Then they actually finish the season. Here are the two games that could be a problem. At home against the Packers, then at home against Seattle. Understand, Seattle doesn't really have the luxury to sit players, to play games. Right? Seattle started the season 0-2 thanks to the Cam Chancellor holdout. So, in my opinion, Seattle's going to be coming to play some football week 17. I know Arizona took care of Seattle in Seattle. Okay, fair enough. Seattle has a big revenge motive. Right? I would further argue that Seattle's playing better ball now than they were then. Right? Thomas Rawls seems to be helping that offense a little bit more than an injured Marshawn Lynch was earlier in the year. Right? So, my point to you is we were all here looking at Green Bay and we were wondering when Green Bay was going to turn it around. I know they were less than convincing tonight. Right? I believe they were being shut out at halftime in this game. But just understand, this miracle finish against the Lions has the Pack at 8-4 and perfectly positioned to win 11 or 12 games. Let me say this too. In terms of the possible top seeds, I don't know how you could look at Carolina and look at that receiving core, right? Ted Ginn, Funchess, right? Greg Olsen. I don't know how you could look at that receiving core and say to yourself, wow, this is a unbeatable team, right? I would argue that if you're the 2 seed in the NFC, you have a really good chance, don't you? Right? You get a bye early. Then, of course, you get a home game. Then you go on the road to face the 1 seed if the 1 seed is still alive. If the 1 seed's not, you host that NFC Championship game. So right now, if you're looking at the NFC, you really have to be looking at Carolina, Arizona, and, in my opinion, yes, Green Bay. Right? I think the Vikings are a fine team. I just don't think they're going to be in it at the end, at least not in the top 3. Anyway, that's how I see it on December the 3rd, 2015. Understand, gambling is fluid. People do get injured, right? Certainly, if Cam Newton, probably the leading MVP candidate, gets injured. Right? I believe even the Carolina faithful will be, jumping off the bandwagon, at least hedging their bets. Right? So let's just say as of December 3rd, 2015, as choppy as Green Bay's season has been, they have 8 wins. They have 4 to go. Their next 2 games are against the Cowboys in Lambeau and against the Raiders in Oakland. Right? If Aaron Rodgers gets to 10 wins with 2 weeks left in the season, And if Arizona stumbles at all, right, this thing could get interesting. Keep in mind, the Pack play Arizona Week 16, and then Week 17, Arizona has to host the Seattle Seahawks, the defending NFC champions. Anyway, that's how I see it. Gamblers, let's all try to get an edge on the casino. If there are other scenarios you see or believe in, I hope you educate all of us in the comment section to this video on YouTube. Thanks for stopping by.